Hello, everyone. This is Matt, your host of Heavy Mental Breakdown. I'm doing something a little bit different tonight. Um, I have about a month ago, I interviewed a man named Rick Ash of Ironox and formerly Suicide Silence, and we just had a conversation about his life and career and family and mental health. And I thought that that conversation was uh, received very, very well. It's one of our highest watched episodes, and I think a lot of people understood and connected with it. So after I did that, I had it in mind to start doing more of these intimate conversations. Every night is fun. I love breaking down, riffs and solos and lyrics and screaming, but occasionally you got to just kind of slow down a little bit in life and let's just talk. Let's just have a free flowing conversation. And so about a month ago, I released an episode with the band Until the Avalanche, and we have here today Fern from Until the Avalanche, and he was talking about what he does as a profession. So, Fern from Until the Avalanche, welcome, my friend. Thank you for jumping on this podcast.
What's up, dude? Hey, I'm really fucking happy to be here. It's been, yeah, about a month since we talked, but I'm
Yeah.
really excited. I just like really cannot wait to just dive into outside questions of like, what you normally do, because essentially like a little bit of change is always good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was telling Fern this before the episode started. I don't know. I'm really nervous for this one. You know what I mean? I'm like, it blows my mind that so many of you artists are talking to me about real life shit and just like you're trusting me with it to put it on the internet, to put it out. And I sometimes feel the pressure and the weight of that very, very heavy. And sometimes, yeah, sometimes it just really gets to me. I hear a bunch of really crazy stories and also some very
Yeah.
inspirational stories. And I think there's more beyond the music to kind of dive into as well. And so,
Oh yeah.
Fernando, so for anybody who didn't listen to the Until the Avalanche episode and knows who you are and what you do, what is just like a intro to who you are and what you do as your, I guess, second career or first career? I'm not sure which one you put first, being a rock star or doing what you do, but kind of just give us a little bit of a
Uh,
background on yourself.
Fair enough. I would say that my main career is essentially what I studied for, which I am currently working as a licensed mental health therapist working in Arizona. I work in a nonprofit
Hmm.
community health organization that caters to underserved populations, minorities. These include, people who have or lack a lot of resources, are under or below, the poverty line, and normally there a lot of them are undocumented. So you could say it's just the most vulnerable
Hmm.
populations, and don't get me wrong, it's pretty fucking cool because a lot of it is look at I love seeing the sense of community within those people because me myself being an immigrant, it's like I can relate to them a lot, so it's pretty cool. And I think one of the most detailed parts of my career right now, or I guess a little bit more relevant, is that I started working for a human trafficking program in my agency where I work with rescued survivors of human and sex trafficking.
Hmm.
Now, that's a little bit more like frequent and hands-on work, including therapy, care coordination, only due to the fact that it's like the severity and the frequency of behaviors associated with trauma and the impact of like that of the kiddo or the teenager or the young adult and the community and how it's impacted family dynamics. That's essentially what is I would say taking more of my time at my work. But when I'm not doing human trafficking like type of therapy, I work with younger kiddos, like ages 7 through 17. Normally, I specialize with kiddos who have some form of like conduct disorder or ADHD, or they have some form of like mood disorder like bipolar or depression. And
Bipolar.
essentially
I don't know if
I
you knew this, but I'm bipolar. I don't know if we went over that in the
I
last episode or not.
I I
Yeah.
remember you mentioned that
Okay.
I have
Yeah.
ADHD and anxiety, so it's very similar actually. And you know, it's kind of cool that I get to see how mental health is presented in different forms, different shapes, you know, different angles, different communities, and it's very fascinating. But I would say
Yeah.
that's my main career. My second career would be being a musician, you know,
Yeah.
essentially playing the guitar, but writing all of the instruments for until the Avalanche, essentially in charge of like pre-production, just as much as Frank takes over, you know, with vocals, writing, structuring, you know, demoing. Essentially, it's like a collaboration process with them.
So you're like a mixture of like a rock star and a hero. It's like if Superman was in a band. That's kind of how I see a comic book. It's like Captain something, and you just like you have a cape on, you're like helping people, and you're just like rocking out on a stage over here. It's like
Oh, stop it. No, I think I'm just a guy, you
you're
know,
just a
just
guy.
trying to do the
We're
right
all
thing.
just people. We're all just people. Um,
Yeah, I wish I at some point I could kind of I'm reminded by my boss at work, like, slow down, you're not fucking Superman, you know, because I overbook
don't listen
myself.
to
You know, I
that. Don't
always
listen to that. Yes, you are, dude. Yes, you are.
I'm literally overbook myself because I want to be as effective, as helpful, as
Yeah,
available to my people. And you know, I just sometimes I get it, it's like self-care, but I can't help it, bro. Like
yeah,
I just want to be
yeah,
of service, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Um, so now knowing all that, you know, I was before this interview started, I was very nervous for this one. I think I've already touched on that,
Mhm.
and
A little bit.
I started to like write down notes and you know what is the best way to do this? What are the more important questions? I did that whole thing, and then I
Okay.
was just like, I don't want to do it this way. I'm like the whole thing of heavy mental breakdown is being in the moment with the band because none of these bands are sometimes not fully aware because I think I just forget to tell them. It's my fault, but I don't listen to their songs that they choose before they get on the podcast. And so I
Hmm.
love giving kind of a raw and emotional take of what is your songs make me feel in that moment, but also
Hmm.
how can I see it in a different way as well. So we're pulling all these different meanings from the lyrics. And I remember in your episode specifically, one of the things that stood out to me was Frank and his kind of subconscious relation to the lyrics when it came to faith. I remember
Hmm.
that was something
Absolutely.
that came up, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't even really think about it that way." And so I don't know.
It
I
was an
just feel like,
aha.
yeah, it really was. It really was. And I guess I just wanted to ask you, since you are one of the first returning guests on the show, how did you feel after that episode and like kind of diving like super micro into your music and like studying the lyrics and like what does this mean? Like, what was that experience like for you after the interview?
Inspiring, bro. Only
Mm,
because it's like I think seeing the impact on how our music has reached out this much to like the point that we get to talk about it with someone as cool as you, that you're like curious about who we are and how it represents us. Like that was just fucking inspiring. I don't know. I was just writing on highs and like that was really cool. Like, you know, I don't get to do this as often, you know, because I live a really freaking busy life and I don't even have children. So it's like I am like married to my career
mhm.
essentially, and when I do interviews like this, it's just like it's inspiring, you know. I just want to do more of them because it's kind of cool to connect with the
Yeah.
community such as yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And you had asked me a question before we jumped on. And I said, wait. I want to talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
this during while we're recording because I actually think
Yeah,
it is
I remember it.
a decent topic to kind of bring up at the moment. Um,
Fair
Ask me
enough.
that question again.
For sure. So, since you have had the pleasure of interviewing a bunch of great artists in bands and taking their perspectives about songs, their lives, sometimes their struggles, their own personal life experiences, you mentioned earlier to me that it's just been crazy. And I believe that because you're gathering like more than one perspective that perhaps you have never heard of. What would you
Right.
say was the wildest thing that not only blew your mind, but it gave you like a, huh, that kind of like, reaction?
Yeah. So I have an answer for that, and it might not be what you're thinking. Um,
Okay.
so
All
because
right.
what right when you asked
I'm
me that,
curious.
yeah. Right when you asked me that, there was a moment that went straight to my mind. And I'm like, I know what that moment is. I know what it is. And
Yeah.
I had an interview, and I want to say, and I deeply apologize if I'm getting the band name wrong, if it was in a different episode, but I believe it was with Apathy Disease from Ohio. That episode is not out yet. It's a great one. And I don't even know if this question that was asked to me was even part of the recording, if it was afterwards, because I tend to
Hmm.
chat with all my guests afterwards too. Like we're on such a,
Yeah.
high from the episode, and it's like, when I
Yeah.
stop recording, I usually just I go, whoo, we did it, everyone, we did it.
Like
So
a
like
sense of accomplishment.
exactly, I'm like, you guys did it. You guys did it. Um,
Yeah.
and I always chat with people afterwards too, just make sure they're feeling all right. But so I got asked a question a couple weeks ago by Apathy Disease, and
Hmm.
uh, she asked me a question that I didn't know how to answer in the moment, and I've been thinking about it a lot. She asked me
Hmm.
because I was telling her about the podcast, and
Yeah.
we're not even a year in, and we're on episode. This one's probably going to be episode 58 or 60 or something like that, and
Hmm.
I'm booking 2 or 3 interviews a night at this point, and it's kind of gone wild.
Yeah.
And so she asked me this question, and it just really made me think. She says, with all the love that's been coming into your podcast and people wanting to be on it and trusting you, she goes,
Hmm.
you must be pretty proud of yourself for kind of creating this thing and a platform for people to come on and chat. And I didn't know how to answer that. It kind of took me by surprise. I
Interesting.
personally don't get asked a lot of questions on the podcast. It's me rambling on about what I think lyrics mean and asking a million questions, but I
Yeah.
hardly ever get asked any questions about myself. And especially something like that. The whole reason that I started this podcast is because, dude,
Hmm.
I attempted suicide a couple years ago, and it did
I
not,
understand.
and it was a very, very low moment in my life. And I
I
thought
understand.
I was nobody. I thought my existence didn't matter. I
Hmm.
was ready to peace out, like 100% ready to
Yeah,
go.
I get you.
But there was one thing that kept me
Hmm.
positive and kept me going, and that was listening to my favorite songs from my favorite bands. And I
Oh, dude.
felt like I was not alone. Um,
Oof.
and my goal of the whole podcast is to change how we view rock and roll and lyrics and metal. That is a mission of mine. That is I feel like the
Hmm.
conversation of the emotion behind the lyrics for the songwriter is a magical place to study. It's a
100%.
brilliant place to dive in and talk about. And
Hmm.
everybody's kind of feeling really good. A lot of people are saying what you just said. It was was inspiring. And they're like, I didn't even know I can write that way. I haven't even listened to these lyrics since the song came out. And they're like, I didn't even think of it that way. And so it's making an impact. It really is, the podcast. And
It really did, bro. I mean, think about it. If I left the podcast, like, the interview, like, inspired, imagine just talking to another human being. You left this human being feeling ecstatic, and just intrigued and, like, curious, you're literally causing an impact. So,
trying my best. But when she asked me that, are you are,
yeah.
are are you proud of yourself, or you must be proud of yourself?
Hmm.
That was not anything that I've thought of at all in the last 11 months of doing this.
Gotcha.
Because I was in such a low place at one moment, thinking my existence didn't
Yeah.
even matter. And now I'm
Right.
doing something that I genuinely love. Like I'm not even kidding. Like I feel like this is like my purpose. I feel like it's my
Hell
purpose
yeah,
to
dude.
try to save other lives through the lyrics of music, because music literally saves lives. And I think it's the most underrated topic about things that save lives. Rock and roll and
Mm,
metal. I feel it gets a bad rep, and rock and roll saved me. The lyrics saved me. The person who wrote them saved me. And I wanted to bring that to the masses. And I've been working overtime on this podcast, and it's become my life. It's completely taken over. And but
yeah.
I've been so busy that I have not really sat to think about what I've accomplished in such a short time, and if I'm even proud of it. And
Wow.
I think I'm still trying to figure it out. To me, it's not
Really?
something. Yeah, to me, it's not some. Like, I
Huh.
don't see this podcast as like a way to, like, you know, uh, I don't know, make friends with musicians, or because I love music, I just want to do a podcast. Like, it's so much deeper than that.
Hmm.
And when she asked me that, there was a quote that came in my mind, and it's by Kobe Bryant, out of all people.
Oh,
Job not finished.
job not finished.
Job not finished. Him and the Lakers were up 2-0 in one of their playoff series. They were up 2-0,
Hmm.
and somebody one of the news guys, were, I forget what they're called, but they were like, "Kobe, you must be pretty proud of yourself. You guys are up 2-0 in the series." And he goes, "What's there to be proud of?" And he goes,
Hmm.
"Well, you guys are up 2-0." He goes, "So? Job not finished. Job not finished." And
Hmm.
that always stuck with me. I'm like, holy shit, Kobe Bryant, who is a champion, and he was kind of at the end of his career when he got asked that question. And still
That's
to
right.
that day, he couldn't say, "Yeah, I'm proud of myself and the work that I've done here for this team in this series." He just thought in that moment, "I have a mission,
Hmm.
and it's still not over." And
Definitely.
so I've been battling with the idea of, like, should I even be proud of myself? Because there's so much work needed to be done. And I feel like if I'm like, yeah, I'm proud of myself, I got this, like, I feel like that would kind of just change my whole vision of the podcast. And
Int-
so
I have a
I don't
different
know.
take on that though.
I've been really thinking about it a lot. And I
It's
still don't
intriguing.
know. I don't know how I should feel. I really don't.
Oh, I will never tell you how to feel, bro. That's you, that's
Yeah,
you, man. But if you want perspective on
absolutely.
what you were at on what you were asked, like I can understand what that means of like that you didn't stop and think about what I accomplished. And I love that you associate like a quote that essentially fosters like self-improvement or constantly pursuing self-improvement to say like there's more work to do, which is essentially it fuels your purpose, it's kind of what gives the essence of your purpose. But you gotta remember, man, you gotta stop and smell the flowers.
Hmm.
Like if you don't do that shit, yes, of course you can cause an impact and you can continue doing that, but you gotta reap what you sow, and that sometimes is a good thing. You gotta stop, smell the flowers, enjoy what it is. Like,
Yeah.
take just like a whiff of like the success that you have created, hopefully not in hope like let me rephrase that, in hopes for not to you settle in being like comfortable, but to inspire you that damn, I fucking like this feeling. I want to do more of that.
Yeah.
Because that's how I feel when I think about like what I have accomplished as a musician, which in retrospect, I don't think it's much, compared to other bands.
Mm.
I mean, I know I write all the instruments, all of that, but to me, I don't think that's that impressive because there's
Mm.
like hundreds of thousands of people who are probably way better than me. But in my opinion, I guess I am proud of the music that I have put out because it's music that I can relate and that had made other people relate. And for that, I am proud. But yes, I agree. Job not finished,
Yeah.
because I'm going fucking, full on mode, like to continue writing. In fact, I've been writing recently after like a little, downer because the state of the world has been kind of keeping me not depressed, but just kind of like, keeping me isolated from the world and just kind of like, staying with just my people and my circle of like, closer individuals. And, but I also think about, fuck, dude, like in the community, I guess I do a good job because, a lot of families make recommendations to work with me. There's been people at my job where they asking to work with me and I never met them and I asked them, how do you know me? Like really? And they say, oh, it's because you work with my cousins, like mothers, blah, blah, blah. And then they told me that you were the best therapist, you helped their kid, they're doing much better. I'm like, I honestly don't remember, how long ago was this, but it's but
Yeah.
it but it's nice to hear that, I made that impact and then,
Yeah.
it's kind of like a chain of referrals that I get and I start working with those families and it's cool, it's kind of like, oh shit, people ask to work with you. In fact, the same thing when I train new people, when
Yeah.
they ask me, can I train with you again? It's because I don't know, they enjoy my teaching style, but then again, I think about it. When they ask me, I'm just doing my job. I'm
Right.
doing what's expected of me. I just put my little pizzazz to it, because that's who I am. And I think that's just the charisma of what people enjoy. But like I said, there's still more to be done because I have not stopped and I don't plan to stop and I plan to
Yeah.
keep going until, life says, you know what, you're done. But, for
Yeah.
now, like as long as I have a pulse and a brain, I just gotta keep going, bro. But
Yeah. I
again,
I feel
you
like
can't keep going if you don't stop and smell
yeah.
the flowers.
Yeah, I feel like you and I kind of get that.
Yeah.
Because to me, what it sounds like is, what with the way that I think about what I'm doing is it becomes addicting. Like
Oh yeah.
I become obsessed with it. I'm like, okay, how many bands can I fit in this day? And who is this band possibly connected with so then I can reach this whole other demographic of bands? Like my
Yeah.
mind is just moving like this.
Okay.
No nothing negative to smaller bands, but I think when I start to kind of build this and I can reach like a higher audience,
Yeah.
that is when I feel like it's at a place where it's mainstream now, where mental health
Hmm.
and rock and roll is together.
Yeah.
Like I can see myself like the ultimate goal is to kind of like go to music festivals and have a booth, pass out flyers, talk about resources for mental health, and talk to them about their
Yeah.
favorite bands and lyrics, and to bring on, because the person that saved my life was Corey Taylor from Slipknot. And the
Yeah.
ultimate goal is to have him on the show. I'm
Hey,
manifesting that. Um,
hey, who's to say that it's not gonna happen? So I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you keep manifesting it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think I'll feel a sense of accomplishment if that
Okay.
happens.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of
Yeah.
like a full
That's
circle
fair.
moment. But
That's fair.
knowing myself, that good moment's not going to last too long. It's going to be a high and
You'll
I'm
want
going to run
more.
on it.
You'll want more.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be like, all right, who do I got next? You know? And then I'm like, okay,
But
now I
that's
can't settle until I
good.
get them.
That's good ambition, bro.
Yeah. It's addiction. It's upsetting. But I feel like when we find our purpose and we find something that we are just so passionate about, it just happens naturally because we love it so much. You
True.
get it. You get it. One thing that I wanted to point out that I think this is a good place to kind of maneuver to a different topic. One of the
Sure.
things you said was the state of the world at the moment. And you were talking about, you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm depressed or, you know, to you, when you say the state of the world right now, what does that mean to you?
Well, to be honest, it's just considering like I just don't focus on the United States, bro. Like I'm not just that kind of person. I don't just focus on like, well, what about the US? Other people want to help other countries. Well, again, we're all human. Like, what makes them less important than us? So I just don't think about what's going on here. Yes, what's happening here, it's heartbreaking. It's like it's horrible, and it's like people who still support whatever bullshit administration we have right now. It's heartbreaking. But I think about the people who are impacted beyond seas, like Syria, like Palestine, like
Mm,
in Doha,
Iran.
Qatar, like, correct, all those
Yeah,
places
all these
that don't
places.
fucking cover all the media. I
Yeah.
like to just kind of like look over there, not to depress myself, but to consider like, bro, they're human beings, they deserve our attention. They deserve also like our resources. But I
Yeah.
also think that for me it weighs heavier only because, well, I am an empath, I feel deeper, when
So am
something
I.
bothers me.
Yeah, I'm the same way, dude. Same way.
Yeah, it's just
It's
I don't know if it's
exhausting.
my it is. It's like I don't know if it's my ADHD, my anxiety, or them together dancing together, but it's like I just sometimes wish I could shut off, like,
Yeah.
the part of my feelings to stop feeling so much. But, at the same time, I think about it now, bro. That's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because that's what's fueling my passion to help, the community. It's what's helping me, like, be so fucking like laser focused in helping my people, either through
Mm,
therapy, through community resources, through activism, through like I don't know, just even sharing like information online, or basically just saying that I disagree with what people in power are doing. But I just some days I cannot shut that off, and I feel like it carries me over. And it's like I can't sometimes stop feeling because during the day I hold space and emotions of others for like 10 to 12 hours, and then I
yeah.
come back and I learn about more about the state of the world. And sometimes I don't want to look into it because I don't want for it to be like overbearing. But at the same time, I don't want to be a fucking ignorant, and I don't want to be insensitive. Like most
Right.
people have desensitized themselves from
Yeah.
reacting. Like a lot of people have like,
Yeah.
and I fucking hate this, bro, and I fucking hate this, and excuse my language, but this is how strongly I hate that people get so desensitized now to violence. Like, some people have lost their humanity. That's what bothers me. When people stop
Mm,
reacting about someone dying, someone getting hurt, someone being kidnapped, someone being abused, someone being raped, someone like, do people not like cannot see their pain like as I can, like I can
yeah.
feel the pain.
Yeah.
I might not have gone through that situation, but I can visualize it. I can put it, but people are too fucking cowards to even do that because it's easier to worry about me, and
Hmm.
not you. So this is why I think it's just been so heavy on me that I kind of, I my boss kind of tells me that I you kind of turtle in, kind of it's just like a turtle. You
Oh,
just
okay. Yeah. You
go
just
inside
stay
your
in your
shell.
shell. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, essentially that's kind of what I've been doing, and like. to be
Yeah.
fair, I just don't feel like going out anywhere. My therapy
Mm,
lately has been video games. I've been gaming so fucking much lately and also been trying to play guitar and also read comic books as much as possible. But outside, it's like I sometimes even feel like, and I know it shouldn't be this way, but I feel some guilt like, bro, how the fuck do I get to enjoy being outside,
yeah.
enjoying a normal, regular ass day where I can get to be myself and stuff. And then it's like you turn the opposite side of the world, not even that far, and there's people who don't even have nothing to fucking eat, or where to sit down, or
Mm,
where to actually stay, or where to sleep. So
yeah.
I
Even
don't
just
know.
where to
I know
rest. Wild.
exactly. So it's just like, I consider all of that and it's kind of hard to shut it off. I know that us as humans sometimes we need balance and we need like limits because we cannot help everyone.
Hmm.
But who's to say, that we should stop feeling that way, because that feeling, that
Yeah.
humanity is what keeps us connected together.
Yeah. I think from my experience and just talking to people about all these things, I think that there's just so much of it happening. And the more that
Yes.
you ingest it and dissect it and look into it, there's almost no
Mm-hmm.
point in doing that because I don't know, like me personally, I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but when I think about conspiracy theories, dude, like seriously, sometimes they make way more sense to me than what's being told to me. Like I am in a place right now where I'm like, is this even a real thing? Is this a distraction from this? Do we have reptiles in walking around? I'm like, what
I
is
get what you mean.
like what is real? What is
Bro,
real?
I feel you. I feel you because it's like what we see in the news makes absolutely no sense. Like I feel like do they think we're stupid? Do
Yeah,
do they think like we don't have critical thinking skills? Like, I'm sorry, but like I don't personally buy that bullshit that they're
yeah,
portraying. I like to do my own research. I look
yeah.
what I like to do is that I don't watch one or two, three different like news media. I look for independent, I look for center, I look for right, left, like kind of like to see
Mm,
how
balance it out.
comparing like headlines, because it's
Yeah,
like that's what surprised me. It's like how scary it is, how some information is presented through different angles, and how people consume that. And that's how people reinforce either values that associate like a political affiliation, or people actually critically think about what's presented and make their own decision in deduction of the information that is being presented. And
yeah,
that's when they actually can see this is fucking bullshit,
yeah. It's
you know?
really easy to hide in a situation like this because you want to do so much, but a lot of people feel like no matter what they do, is there any purpose to it? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Are we even fighting for something that's presented to us that's not
Hmm.
a trick? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, did this happen on purpose? Are they doing this to set people off? Like, it just becomes exhausting. Like we were saying earlier about being an empath, it just becomes exhausting. And it's just, what is the point to any of it? Like, not even just
Yeah.
like world issues that's going on, but just everything,
Hmm.
everything and everything. I'm just like,
It's
it's
overwhelming.
yeah,
Overwhelming.
yeah, and that's how we've all got so these what was the word you said? How we've all
Desensitized.
desensitized. That's right. Yeah. And then
Yep.
and it's working, dude. It's working.
Scary.
That's what they wanted. They want division. They want separation, and it's
I
working.
know.
It
I
is
know. That's the
working,
scary
dude.
part.
Yeah.
But I am also seeing that it, as much as it's also working, it's also like helping other people unite because the people uniting are seeing now how like people in power are being exposed and they don't like that. And that's why they're fighting back so much with all this disinformation
Yeah.
to continuously keep separating us. But luckily, it has also been helping some of us get more united.
So I have a question for you, and if this topic is not one that you want to discuss,
That's okay.
we'll march along. Um, you're in Arizona.
Correct.
There is a major company out in Arizona that's making quite a bit of waves right now. and that is Turning Point USA from Arizona.
Oh Lord.
Being in Arizona, I guess I don't even really know how to ask this question, really,
You can go
but
ahead. No, no, no. Seriously, you can go ahead, bro. This is open
yeah,
conversation, so
yeah,
this is nothing to be offended or anything. Yeah,
yeah, I guess I'm
just.
just trying to. I guess my question is, how is
Mhm.
Arizona like with the mindset of Turning Point? Because I remember I forget where I heard this from, but somebody was interviewed saying, yeah, everybody in Arizona who's connected with like politics, they all knew what Turning Point was kind of doing behind the scenes. They like the state of Arizona, like there's like some hidden like people know stuff, and it's just like I guess because that to me that is one of the biggest headlines out right now is Turning Point
Mm,
USA and the whole Charlie Kirk situation. Being
yeah.
in Arizona, has that come up with you and your circles? And I mean, just has being in Arizona
Oh
affected?
yeah.
Okay,
Oh yeah, bro. Oh yeah. Like
interesting.
just to tell you that, like, when that shit happened, when CK, unfortunately passed, like having an opinion, of course, people can have an opinion. And I remember how fucking ridiculous it was to actually being told to not have an opinion on, that passing. But, when other people were, that don't agree with the administration pass, certainly the opposite side could have an opinion. And I remember in my work community, like at my job, because most of them, they're therapists, clinical coordinators, people educated. And we did talk about that in a way that, we reflected on the impact of like Turning Point and the division that they wanted to create, with
Mm,
people and how that division impacted the passing of CK, essentially for, seeing how people reacted. It's almost like they wanted to see the reaction of people in order to see how much they can cater their content, their political mission, their outreaches to see how much they can expand. And they have been expanding aggressively because I've been
yeah, they have.
hearing that they're setting up charters in every school in America. At least I heard that they're expanding to so many. I know I heard
Yeah,
already it's been in the thousands, and that to me that is really fucking scary because that is essentially the mentality of a freaking cult. Essentially, it is what it is. I'm
I
calling it
agree.
for what it is because at the end of the day, it's like the way that they present information or they debate information is just like essentially one-sided. In my opinion, they took the value of like being unbiased by merely only posing the questions to elicit a specific answer that they can always fight or deflect in a form
Mm,
that aligns with their values. And that it is despicable because there's no room for growth. There's no room for critical thinking there. It's like the people who want to use the critical thinking skills with Turning Point USA is almost as like it goes one ear and then it goes the other. And what do they do? Personal attacks or attacks on the character of the person, just
yeah.
because they figure out a way to call out their bullshit. So me personally, I get so annoyed when I walk by downtown Phoenix and I hear people, talking like, that fucking charter bullshit, and I'm so annoyed because it just to me, it's almost like hearing mouth breathers who follow a cult. It's just,
Mm. Do you think it
I am
was?
fed up.
Do you think that I guess the vibe, I'll call it, of the city was the same when Charlie was around, or do you think it changed into like
Oh,
this cult kind of thing after?
I can tell you it was bad. It got worse.
Hmm.
Yeah, it like exacerbated like
Mm.
the irritability of individuals on both sides,
Yeah. Yeah.
on political spectrums. It just like created so much tension that, now it's like when the administration wanted to say, oh, you can't say that because it's you being a terrorist and we're going to investigate you because blah, 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 blah. what did the other side did? Like, no, like, fuck you. I'm gonna speak on it, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of like, you told me not to do, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fight back. So it created so much tension. So it was
Mm,
very noticeable online and in the town itself because protests happen. And then on top of that, like, essentially a lot of like, people just being so ugly with each other outside for, when people go out with their stupid red hats, and people call them out and they get aggressive. Me on the opposite side, if I wear this, I get nasty looks from people on the opposite side, but ask me if I
mm,
give a fuck. Of course not. I don't engage. And if I have comments about it, I won't engage either, because at the end of the day, this is a form of peaceful protesting. You
yeah.
know, I won't agree with what you say or anything, but I'm not looking to cause for trouble. As much as you want to express yourself with your stupid red hats and everything, well, I have my form of opposition peacefully.
Hmm.
So the climate that it's been created with this kind of mentality, bro, essentially it's kind of like, to an extent, it sounds bad, but you kind of have to meet you have to meet them with the same force essentially, because being gentle, being calm, being respectful, being strategic about it, it's just almost like having no impact because as you can see, there's been so much lawlessness on the opposite side, on the right side, on the people who are extremists. So it's just scary.
And what I was saying earlier about division, I don't buy the narrative of what happened to Charlie. I don't buy
I
it.
don't either. I don't
And
either.
it's wild to me that they put the blame on I don't remember if he was transgender or not. I think
Yes, that's
he
what
was.
that's what
Yeah,
they
and
pointed
then
out.
that
Yeah.
that he like carved things on bullets of like hate and stuff. And so like that's all you saw in the media was just like, oh, these transgender kids are they have these mindsets and they have guns now and it's just like they're dangerous. And I'm just like, this isn't about that at all.
This the sketchiest part is like how the FBI director immediately posted 30, 45 minutes within like the casings of the bullets, like, but on his social media page, like, bro, like if it's an open investigation, should you be talking about it? Should you be posting
Yeah.
about it? But when this is what I don't get. Like, but when people were questioned in the actual proceedings in Congress, this is like, this is an open investigation. We cannot talk about it, but you can obviously post about a develop. Like the
Mm,
deflection is there, and immediately one could tell this is bullshit.
yeah. Yeah, I don't buy it. And I'm just gonna,
I don't either.
I'm gonna close the turning point chapter with saying this because we got way more important things to be talking about.
Of course, of
But
course.
my conspiracy theorist mind now at this point, I'm like,
I
fuck.
want to hear it. I
I'm
want to
like,
hear
I'm
it.
like, is he really dead though? Like that's what I asked myself. That but did that really happen though, or is this all
Bro,
just an illusion? Because
at
like
this
there
point,
was that whole camera thing behind him, and they were like pulling it, and some people are saying it's like this
that's
projector thing,
right.
and then like if you see footage from behind the table when he got shot, like one of the chairs sink into another chair, like there's glitches in it, like the words are moving on his shirt and the wedding ring on his finger, like it looks fake. It looks
I know.
absolutely fake.
I know.
And my
It's kind of hard to
conspiracy
believe what's
theorists,
been
right.
presented.
So when I watch videos like that about some of these
Yeah,
theories, and then when I listen to the news, I'm just like, this one makes way more sense to me than this one does. This just doesn't make any sense.
I
And that's what
agree.
I'm saying
I
is just
agree.
like, we can go out there and protest. We can either protest for Charlie or against Charlie. We can protest for Turning Point or against him. Like, but why? What does it matter?
Hmm.
If they're not telling us the truth. We don't know what happened, all the things behind the scenes, and it's just at that point, it just makes you feel like you're just it doesn't matter what you're doing.
Absolutely. Although I will say that I do find silence as complicity, because at the end of the day, is that's what's fueling the side of the oppressor. That is something that I will always
Yeah.
call out within my community, within my people, within my friends who have actually, that I've seen that it has, I think in a form of way they have failed to do something, and to me it makes me question, what essentially they're doing about the situation, because I feel like we all should be doing something about the situation in some shape or form.
Mm.
Absolutely, there's way a lot of things that are beyond our control. There's a lot of factors that when we move, it can create some resistance, but there's many ways, and I mean absolutely many ways if you do your research, if you actually get invested, for you to do something and to take action for what the oppression and the injustice that has been going on.
And for
Literally
example,
talking about it.
yeah, so there's two things that people can do productively that can make a cause. I mean that
Yep.
could support a cause or bring awareness to something. And that
Yeah.
two of the things, number one is music is what you do. We can get
Hmm.
it out and scream it out through lyrics or take it out on the
Yep.
guitar. We can get our anger
Yep.
out that way and make creativity out of some pain that you're feeling. Also,
Absolutely.
hosting a podcast where we can bring people on and talk about it. So it's like
And I
there's
love it.
things.
I love
So
seeing
yeah,
it. I love seeing it.
yeah. I feel like in really dark times, it brings out the empathy in people who are empaths, and makes people
Yeah,
feel different things. And I think it
exactly.
sparks creativity, just like COVID. I can't tell you how I've lost track. I've completely lost track, and I almost even thought about changing the podcast because of how much it came up. But so many bands found themselves during COVID. They were
Yep.
looking at their kind of like catalog in 2018, 2019, and then they sat with their lyrics, they sat with their music, and I would say every single band that says that they were impacted by COVID, it was it was a change for the better because they were able to get
Hmm.
vulnerable and show that
Yeah.
anger and be like, okay, this is more than the music here. We need to take this shit serious because we don't know what's going on in the world and we're pissed off and we need to let these
Yeah.
things out. And then you have people who
Yeah.
are not in the rock space and hear it and think they're making it worse. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, why are you screaming? Why are you devil worshippers? And all that thing. I've heard all that since I was a kid, dude.
Same.
I used to work at
Same.
Hot Topic and people used to walk by and flip us off for no reason. You know what
Bro,
I mean? Like it's
I used to
crazy.
live in Mexico, and in Mexico they would always say if you play music from like Korn, Slipknot, they would say like El Diablo, they used to
Yeah.
be like so dramatic about it. So
Yeah.
I understand what you meant.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Uh,
I don't know.
but metal music, rock and roll and metal music changed the world. And I think we
I
have the most
agree.
positive, influential, inspiring lyrics out of any genre in the world. And I stand by that.
100%,
I
bro.
stand by that.
I I back it up 110%.
And so, with that being said, job not finished, Fernando. All right, we're gonna switch
You preach
topics a
it
little bit.
a little bit.
We're gonna
Hell
switch
yeah.
topics
Hell
here.
yeah.
So you do a lot of work, and I feel like if
Yeah.
we were to kind of break down a little bit of everything you do, we'll be here for hours because you do a lot, and there's a lot of impact, a lot of thoughts and emotions. But there's one section that I think, and forgive me if I'm wrong, you know, there's one thing that you said that I think is very heavy for the moment, and one of the things that you work closely in is trafficking.
Hmm.
For anybody
Yep.
who doesn't know what trafficking is, what is it?
Well, essentially is basically the commercial exchange of sexual activity that is usually non-consensual and is under the pretense of like a lie, coercion, there is, manipulation just to gain a financial or personal benefit. What do I mean by this? Essentially a person forcing another human being to perform acts against their will in order to profit for somebody else.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
Trafficking, unfortunately, has not been, in my opinion, I don't think it has been spoken as much as it needed to be. Even the fucking government, I think they fail so freaking much to
I
address it.
agree. I agree, and that's why I
Speaking
felt,
with the
yeah.
Yeah, what's going on with the lack of transparency
Yeah,
in
and
some
that's why I
killing? It
felt
sucks.
this topic was important to talk to about somebody who
100%.
has talked to people who have dealt with that. So,
And honestly,
you are
yeah.
wearing a
Mhm.
fuck ice shirt. We got the Turning Point shit going on. We got Epstein files going on. We got P. Diddy doing things. The world is
Yep.
a fucking crazy place.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
but I think human trafficking and sex trafficking, child trafficking, I feel like that has come up a lot. Um,
Yes.
in your so I guess in your description, what is a I guess a common thing that you are seeing with trauma wise for I would say minors. Do you have minors that you
Addiction.
have?
Yes, addiction. That's the primary thing that I see a lot with the minors that I work with.
Mm,
Addiction to either alcohol, narcotics, stimulants, marijuana, even at just drugs, but addiction to other behaviors like stealing, lying, scamming, and unfortunately too, sometimes the perpetuation of sexual acts as well. So it's
yeah.
the addiction side. It's like the maladaptive form of like seeking dopamine. That's what I've been seeing a lot.
Mm. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that addiction, but why though? What in their head makes them want to go that route from what their trauma has given them?
That's a very good question. Essentially, because their traumatic experiences essentially have such a great impact in their nervous system, meaning they put them at their, three, actually there's four types of like responses to threats, which is fight, flight, freeze, and then there's also fawn, if I'm not mistaken. Depending on how an individual experiences trauma, they choose to either fight, which sometimes is just always, talking back, getting into fights, hitting people, sometimes even getting to the point of gun violence. Some people froze where they just don't act, and then there's a lot of them where they actually just hide or leave or run or avoid. And fawn is
Mm,
essentially more about like you do anything to appease the person who abused you. Um, so basically, because of this, like reactions in the body, which is put you at imminent like threat, you are constantly hypervigilant. Addiction to something, which, and let's put it as an example, alcohol or marijuana, the more that you drink, obviously it numbs the nervous system, meaning that it also numbs emotional responses and it exacerbates more like of some of the emotional positive responses. What do I mean by this? Like joy, um,
mm,
laughter, all of this. So
mm,
the more that you use, the more dopamine it gets released. The more that you drink, the more that you want. And the more that you
yeah.
want, the more that you create a codependency because essentially it's like you're burning that part of your brain that actually requires more dopamine. We call it the reward center. And once the reward center is getting burnt out, essentially it's kind of demanding more of the substance, which essentially that requires like some form of intensive treatment, for that.
So that is in minors. Have you spoken with adults who this happened to at a younger age? So what
Mhm.
is that primary difference there from someone who suffered it and taking care of it, and well, not taking care of it, but dealing with those emotions at a younger age compared to somebody dealing with it later on in life?
Well, for them, a lot of it is just like how they were perceived. And by that, I mean it's like how in their situation they were being viewed as either as victims or as perpetrators. Because unfortunately, there's also a narrative. And this breaks my heart seeing in the news when it comes to a human trafficking related incident that they're reporting, I still see people in the comment section saying it's like, well, why was she wearing that? Why was she selling her body for she was trying to probably buy her new iPhone or anything? And it's just
Mm,
I'm sorry, but it's so ignorant and it's so insensitive for people to say that, and that's the stigma that, unfortunately human trafficking is having on the community in that it essentially dictates how they themselves
mm,
perceive them, like, the problem. They can either see themselves as
mm,
survivors of human trafficking and thrive, and heal, or they can see themselves as victims who are stuck in a cycle to which they can continue perpetuating and unfortunately taking, like, a harsher turn in their lives and just getting deeper into that lifestyle or worse. So the stigma associated to that I keep seeing is like how in sometimes some news media and it's so ignorant how they portray a situation when they recover victims saying um child prostitution. There's no such thing as child prostitution. There is called sexual abuse of a child, but
mm.
children do not prostitute themselves because they cannot consent.
I
So
think a
seeing
lot of
news
yeah, go ahead.
article of that language
Yeah.
is fucking ignorant. I'm sorry I interrupted you, bro.
No, no, no. I interrupted you. Sorry. Um,
It's so good.
Um, I feel like when we hear about trafficking, whether it's no matter who it is, what age it is, I feel like it's when it's on the news, it's kind of like wide scale. It's kind of like big picture things.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of
Hmm.
people, and maybe it was just me, I don't know, but I feel a lot of us are ignorant to human trafficking and child trafficking and sex trafficking and because we don't really know what's going on because when we hear it, it's kind of big scale like border, across borders and planes flying people in, whatever. But this can happen within your own family.
Correct.
Yeah,
And
this can
that's
happen
called
at school.
familiar trafficking.
Mm. It could be a
Yeah.
family member, it could be a boss, it could be your parent,
Oh,
it
you
could
have no
be a
idea.
wide range of things.
Oof, you have no idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
essentially. And that's very common here. Very
Oh,
common.
okay.
It's
Is it?
it's scary. It's scary. Yeah.
Mm,
No, it's very common, bro. I cannot emphasize how common it is and
yeah.
how scary
Yeah.
it has been. So it's just
And that's why
like
these
I get what
conversations
you're
need to
saying.
be had.
Yeah,
Because I was,
exactly, exactly.
before
And
I started hearing
yeah.
and doing research, I didn't, I thought it was like gang stuff and like it was like elites only were doing it. And like I just got
But
this
it's a
like
media, yeah,
exactly, exactly. And then when
exactly.
I started to
Yeah.
do research on it, I'm like, oh shit, this can happen to anybody at any time,
Just
anywhere.
yeah, just to tell you that stupid movie that was released not so long ago, the human trafficking movie with Jim Caviezel or
I heard
whatever.
about that. That was making waves for sure. I haven't watched it, but I heard about it. Is that all fake?
Sensationalized. Sensationalized. It's sensationalized. There's some aspects of it that is kind of true on how human trafficking rings operate, but this was sensationalized. It does not work that fucking way to just kind of be about like recovering victims and whatnot. This is like Hollywood version of like, something that happens, but again, this is more like sensationalized to cause reactions and draw attention to the movie, not to the problem. Because if it was, for the actual problem, it would have been sensationalized. It would have been more essentially like a documentary or something like that. But the way
Mm-hmm.
that they showed this guy as a
They made a
heroic.
movie about it. Do you
Exactly, like
feel that kind of stuff is intentional to kind of make people think that it's not as a serious deal as it
cor
really is?
not that it's not as serious, but essentially to distract them from what it truly looks like. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I
It
mean that
still
that's kind
portrays
of
how
what I was
heavy it is.
asking, but I think I
Yeah.
worded it weird. But yeah, that was exactly what I was wondering. They put that kind of
No,
stuff
yeah.
out there to distract. Oh,
Correct.
maybe
That's it.
exactly. Yeah.
That's it.
So I'm going to ask this question with the most amount of respect,
Mm-hmm.
knowing it's nothing but love coming from me. I have a question and then I have a follow up. Have you ever gone through any circumstance? related to human trafficking personally?
Hmm.
Or like anybody that you know where it's like, this has affected me as a human. This has affected my life
Yes.
in any way.
Yes. 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 Absolutely.
Because my next question was going to be, if you haven't gone through something personally, how is
Hmm.
it like talking to people who you don't have that shared experience with? How is that like with you on that level? On like, because I feel it's really easy to talk to people, and a lot of people open up um, with people who have the shared experiences. But when that's not the case, and you haven't gone through what these people have gone through, what is that like for you? What is that relationship like with you on like helping people, but it hasn't been something that you've gone through personally? Like, where does that strength and the wisdom come from?
Well, I think it just comes from like in my opinion, is how much people are invested in children, how much they are invested in the future of them
Mm,
or in the love of children. Me personally, I love children with all my heart, and I feel like I
mhm.
would give my life, for any child in this world. It doesn't
Wow.
matter what child it is. I would literally give my life for a child, even though I'm not a father myself, which I hope to be one day. But I think it comes from the love and the respect and admiration that we have for them because I feel like, at some point, if you think about it, sometimes children are being dehumanized because they've seen they're so little, they don't understand what's going on. Oh, they just don't put that in front of them and they'll get scared. Like, no, dude, that's kind of treating them like below their human worth. Like just because they may not understand what we understand, it doesn't mean that they don't understand at all. Of course they do. They
It's a
interpret
feeling.
information differently.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct. Because, one thing that people fail to understand about children is play. Play is the most
Mm.
powerful communication and trust building and self-esteem tool that can help children essentially make, an interpretation of the world. This is how they form thoughts, beliefs, like all of it, just through play. Because if you think about how they interact with one another too, it can be structured play, it can be unstructured, it can be team play, it can be competitive. Like all of this teaches children so many things, and that's how they see the world. So when
Mm.
people talk about this, it's like, no, we don't talk about that. We don't want to scare. No, like this is essentially why we need to kind of bring awareness. So when I come across individuals who have absolutely no idea about it and they think it's like what we talked about earlier, that it's sensationalized, if I come across a conversation, not let's say because I'm eavesdropping, but because I'm introduced to it, I politely correct them and I politely, I'm sorry, but this is
Mm.
that's not how this goes, this is how it's being interpreted. And 75% of the time people respond like positively. It's like, oh, I had no
Mhm.
idea. It's just I thought it was like, the 25% of people can be very, not so nice about it
Mhm.
because those are the people who do not want to be educated. And
Yeah. They don't want to, yeah,
I
they're
understand.
not open to other thoughts, and this is what I believe and that's it.
And
Yeah.
that's fine. That's their choice. They can absolutely choose to do that. But in my opinion, I think that is very irresponsible to the problem itself because it's essentially deflecting from being even involved. Like we said, just merely talking about it and having questions about it, that essentially the curiosity of it can make such an impact with having three or four individuals that just talk about, hey, my niece went through something like this, like because they were talking about someone online and whatnot. Things like this, like you said, didn't happen to anyone. So essentially sharing experiences that the children might have gone through or not because they heard it from somebody else, just because they heard it from somebody else, that even it's important. That even can make a difference.
Um, I'm gonna circle back to something and kind of have a full circle moment here.
Sure.
One of the things you said earlier is that you're an empath and how feelings become really heavy, and I get that. I get exactly what you're talking about. I'm the same way. And when I had asked you, how do you connect with people who haven't experienced that you haven't experienced yourself. And I think the answer to that is your empathy. I think it's extremely important for anybody in your field to be an empath. I really
Correct.
do. Because even though you haven't shared that exact experience, being able to feel those emotions, you feel like you've kind of experienced it in a way. And that is one of the amazing things about us being an empath is we can see that differently and we can help others view that in a way of just coming from like a real human standpoint instead of like, oh, here's some stuff you can work on, here's some exercises that you can help do. No, it's more of a let me help you. I need to help
Yeah,
you. Let's get through this together kind of situation. And I feel that that is a huge thing in your line of work.
absolutely.
Do you think that
Absolutely.
empathy is common in your work? Do you see that there's more empaths than not? What is that
Yeah.
kind of okay?
Yeah, no. 100%. And it's such a nice question that you ask. Only because like the people that I work with make me so happy. The fact that there's a bunch of empaths, dude. Like
Mm,
the workplace that I work at, is primarily dominated by women. Because this field, behavioral health, is actually in general, at least in Arizona, statistically is dominated by women. There's
okay.
a huge lack of male providers in the state of Arizona, I believe. Even
Mm,
I find myself as a statistic because I'm Mexican, I'm Latino essentially. I speak Spanish, and apparently I'm like within the 8 to 12% of providers that only speak Spanish.
mm,
So that itself is kind of wild to me. So in my workplace, I'm like a freaking unicorn. Because I'm the only dude in my team. There's another guy that just started, but the rest are women. So it's kind of cool that working with them, it has taught me other perspectives about things that I normally would not think about that women go through, and I think like that's the cool thing as an empath.
mm.
I'm willing and I'm always open to be educated about new things because I'm
Yeah,
curious. I'm
right.
legitimately curious rather than being judged or being criticized. Like, no, I'm curious. Like, if I don't know something, it's like, oh shit. Okay, can you tell me more about it?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the cool
yeah.
thing is that because I'm friendly, like all the girls that I work with, I just see them like my sisters now,
Yeah.
because we don't argue, we just play fight, we talk shit, we are sassy with each other.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun that,
Uh,
all of us, and I mean all of us, like we feel so deeply what's going on, and a lot of them, let's say that they are Caucasian and they're not Latino, they're so freaking like thoughtful of like the Latino community as well, because even though themselves they acknowledge their privilege. I love that they are very aware of their privilege and how they can use it to advocate for others, because the people that I work with, they protest, they are active
mm,
in the community. They do things outside of work that it's like relatable to helping the community. So empathy, yes, it's like a very common thing at least in my workplace. I can't speak for the entire city
yeah.
because Phoenix is wild. You never know what you'll come across, but I can tell you, at least with the people that I'm surrounded by, yes, empathy is like a common thing, and and I live for it, bro. I really do. It makes me so happy.
It's funny that you brought up the kind of statistic there with like female in this career path versus men because before we jumped on this, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, how dope is this? We are on a mental health podcast, two dudes, two men talking about this serious shit together.
That is fucking cool, I would say, yeah.
We
And
don't
I
we it's
love talking
not
about
that
it.
common, dude. It's not that common.
I agree. I agree 110% with you, bro, because unfortunately, toxic masculinity values are still very fucking common, and it
Yeah.
pisses me the fuck off. Because, yeah, I agree. We were all at some point like, victims to these like values because some of us were introduced to it by culture or by friends or perhaps by others. But we, us men, we have the responsibility to deconstruct those beliefs, those perspectives, because essentially, if we don't deconstruct them from our own belief system, essentially we are the motherfucking like reason why this shit like sexual abuse and things like this continue to happen because it's because of those dangerous beliefs of like male dominance over women and just seeing them as inferior or seeing them as objects, and I just find it disgusting that at some point I ever thought of women like that when I was younger. I feel so much regret and disgust only because I guess I wasn't aware or how this was such a big deal, and it shouldn't be a big deal. It shouldn't be a big deal. It should be normalized. That's
Yeah.
the thing. It's not it right now for us, yeah, it's a big deal because like you said, not a lot of men talk about it, but I wish, yeah, it was more common, but unfortunately not a lot of men are that emotionally available or comfortable with emotional vulnerability.
Yeah. Why do you, in your opinion, think that trafficking isn't as big and uh, brought up as much as it should be? We talk about huge things like Epstein files. We talk about voting and presidents and wars and shit. Like, there's a lot of things that we place really high. Why do you think that human trafficking, especially for not especially, I don't want to say that, but for minors and stuff like that? How come you think this isn't a bigger deal?
Essentially because human trafficking, unfortunately, is so connected with capitalism. And I don't know if you know, but capitalism controls everything in this country, essentially
Hmm.
most of it. So if you
Yeah.
speak on something that controls the system, the whole system falls apart. I'm not
Hmm.
saying that human trafficking directly controls everything, but human trafficking directly does have ties to big things that control a lot of the systems that we live by. For example, the NFL, you know, that's a huge fucking, and I'm guessing that you as a, conspiracy theories fan, I'm sure that you have looked into the NFL. And if not, I suggest that you do. I would say
I've
that you
gone
do
through a
your
lot of
research.
rabbit holes in the last couple months. And
Okay, I'll just
yeah, okay, sorry, no, go on, go on.
No, I'll just tell you that it's like dig deeper. I'll tell you this, dig deeper because
Yeah.
look for resources. There are that they're not always with .com. Obviously, you have to look resources with like .edu, .org, because essentially, I don't know if you know the difference, but depending on the website, essentially the last uh what I just said on the page. If it's .com, mean it's probably more of a public website, meaning that it's public information. I mean, most of this is public information, but .com means that it's more like anyone can comment or modify or it has been brought up, like Wikipedia,
Hmm.
and versus org, which normally can be an organization, a university, an institution, or edu, which normally tends to be a school and a scholar system or something. That means probably, I'm not saying that it will be, but probably the sources are going to be actually dated. They're going to be, I want to say, peer reviewed, which is one of the most important things that if you really want to get into this situation or this problem, look for peer reviewed sources and not just public information
Because
sources.
they tend to
Again,
leave things
the
out.
correct, and this is
Yeah.
why essentially why it's not been a big deal before the Epstein files, essentially.
Yeah.
It's been
You know
now a
when
bigger
I
deal just because of that.
Right. When I first started looking into the NFL, it was when the whole Colin
Hmm.
Kaepernick thing started to happen.
Absolutely.
And that was huge for me because I'm originally from the Bay Area, and when I,
Okay.
growing up, was a huge Niners fan, and
Gotcha.
that really hit me strong because that was my team, and I loved Kaepernick. He was our quarterback. He was supposed to take us to the Super Bowl. But a
He's
lot
your
of
hero.
things, I I wouldn't go that far, but
Fair enough.
and I was a big fan of him in football.
Typical.
and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
but and that's kind of when I really started to look into sports, and then shortly after that, COVID started to happen, and then after
Oh yeah.
that, Epstein files started happening because this has been. I remember watching an Epstein documentary during COVID during 2020. It was something that I was on Netflix, and I just felt like there was just a lot of things going on in the world all at
Oh
once.
yeah, there were. Yep.
And
Yep.
so that's really when my conspiracy theorist mind started to come in. But yeah, I mean, I know recently there was a huge scandal with the NBA too, with
Yep.
gambling. And that has led me to kind of just give up on sports because sports used to be a big part of my life. It really was. And now I'm just like, I think the NFL is rigged. I think there's something way deeper there.
The
I,
NBA
I
as
think
well.
none of I think all of this is planned and it's all financial. The fans giving
Same as
money,
the
buying the
Olympics.
merch, buying the parking,
Well,
buying the things inside.
don't go too far. I mean, what does FIFA did with like giving a stupid participation trophy to Trump because Trump cried that he didn't get the Nobel Peace
Oh
Prize.
yeah.
So FIFA, of course, give him like, here's like the champ of like FIFA, and it's like that's why FIFA lost so many fucking people, buying tickets for the World Cup. And I am so happy about it because I used to be a fan of like watching, the FIFA World Cup like here and there since I was a kid. But growing up, I started learning about the business side of it and how it operates. I'm like, nah. And then finding this out, I'm like, fuck that. I am never gonna watch the fucking World Cup anymore, knowing the fact that they give him a participation trophy to a whiny fucking wannabe king. And it's just like, again, sports to
Yeah.
me, yes, I enjoy them, but not as much as some other people do, only because I know the affiliations and the ties that there's with that. It's just, yeah,
I didn't watch the Super Bowl this year. I intentionally didn't watch it. I didn't want to support it. I have a lot of different thoughts, but I'll leave it at that. But
fair enough.
I remember watching clips of fans in the stands and cheering on their team and just looking so passionate. And there was a moment when I thought to myself, I'm like, I feel bad for this fan right now because they're in this moment of passion and just hoping their team does this. But to me, my mind goes to they already know who's going to win this game. No matter what you do, no matter how much support you show your team, no
Yep.
matter no matter
Yep.
what their record is at the end of the year, you spend all
Yep.
this time, 3 hours a day on every Sunday, and that's only if you watch football. If you watch baseball, basketball, hockey, it's just the amount of time that is consumed watching sports
Hmm.
when you know about all this stuff, you hear about all this stuff, but we consume it anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially on a
It's
wide
crazy.
scale like the Super Bowl with ads and I mean there's all kinds of hidden messages during the Super Bowl. So it's wild. I'm gonna bring it back a little bit to your career. Because I feel like we can go off on many tangents here. Um
Absolutely. And I'm live for it. I
um
do. I do.
yeah, me too, me too. Um So my next question is, what
Yeah.
advice would you give to somebody who is a victim of trafficking in any way to get the help that they need? And I mean the help in the most respect because it is a trauma response and it really messes with, the victim of it. What is, in your experience, kind of that first step to getting help?
That's a loaded question because that also depends on the individual. There's a
Sure.
thing called in psychology called stages of change. And each stage, basically, it's a category that represents the likelihood or the willingness an individual is to pursue treatment or help. So I guess that's as far as I can tell you is that as long as the individual seems that they want to run from the life, as in like they want to leave the life behind, then all you can do is essentially, yes, um, offer them local resources, offer them not, I'm sorry, not local resources, because essentially that would deflect them. Offer them merely a space to talk, just talking. And it doesn't have to be about the life. just talking to them because at the end of the day, they're human beings. It can be anything that they want to talk about, but just letting them know is just like, hey, just, saw that you're struggling, But I normally don't recommend professionally to approach, someone who is a fresh victim of human trafficking because there's like I said, there's a lot of processes behind it, and
Yeah.
I personally don't recommend it. But I would say if you know someone who is family or friends with someone who has been trafficked, I would say that reach out to them in order to let them know that they need to talk to them more. Just talk. There's a lot of power in talking because it's basically sometimes allowing them to retell their story, it can be very empowering because that's how they essentially learn to find more meaning in the future. And the best thing I can tell to someone who is in that life is that there is hope.
Mm.
There's hope after life because there are people who are willing to hold you by the hand, people who are willing to write with you the many years of treatment who are yet to come because I'm one of those people. I am aware that working with human trafficking victims requires more than a year of clinical work. It requires perhaps a couple of years, perhaps
Mm.
many, and I am more than willing to be, you know, at least one of the individuals that, hopefully get to change someone. And I can tell you proudly that I'm working with a couple of people that I hope that I am making a difference. Um,
Mm.
so I hope that kind of answers your question.
I mean, and that totally makes sense. Everybody's situation's different and they're all at different
Yes,
stages in their
yes.
life. And I feel
Yeah.
and so I'm only saying this from my own experience and how I dealt with my stuff. I felt like the
Mm,
easiest thing to do was to wallow in it and drink and be depressed and just accept where I'm at. This is my
yeah.
life right now. This is
Yeah.
happening to me. I'm going to sit here and feel this because it really takes a push to get you
Hmm.
to be like, okay, I need the help. And
Yeah.
that's what happened. That's what happened with me. That's, with
Hmm.
my attempt and being at rock bottom, it took that to make me realize that, okay, there's something I've always kind of like subconsciously knew that there was something going on, but I was kind of like deflecting it because I just didn't want to deal with it.
I get
And
you.
and so in your field, do you feel that that is a common thing that people don't go to help? They don't try to get help until they absolutely need it.
Yes, dude. That's
Mm.
actually it's kind of relatively common. I can tell you that a percentage of the people that we work with who have been in that particular situation, a huge percentage are not willing, but because they're
Mm.
minors, sometimes being aware of the state or, something like, that they may, other adults make decisions for them, then that's when they kind of force them, and that's why sometimes treatment cannot feel as effective, but essentially, yeah. Like there's a lot of that common factor that a lot of people don't want to get the help.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird thing,
It is.
and I'm
It
oddly
is, but
fascinated by it. It takes something extreme to be like to self-reflect. Like COVID too. It
yeah.
took something like COVID for us to kind of sit with our thoughts and be like, okay,
Hmm.
what now? What's next?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Mm.
right. It exposed how broken our systems were. Healthcare system, government system, basically financial systems, how much they failed us because a lot of people fucking died, lost their jobs, lost their homes, essentially, and they exposed how much we depended on things.
The government was
I
like,
think,
you need
yeah,
us. This is why we're doing this, because you need us. I never really thought about it in
yeah.
that way, to be honest. My conspiracy theory goes to a lot of different things. Now I'm at a place where I'm like, was there even a was there even a virus going on? Did they just want to inject us with like with medicine and shots. Like what did they even give us? I do. My
I
mind goes a million different directions sometimes.
I believe you. I think a lot of people
Ugh.
feel that way, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So with the question that sparked my my thought of am I proud
Yeah.
of myself? I guess I'm going to flip
Hmm.
that question around to you. Is in your line of work and what you're doing, in addition to the music that you make, are you proud of yourself and the progress that you've made in all this?
Yes.
Mm,
And only because like it took a lot of therapeutic work that I had to do in myself and a lot of introspection for me to admit that yes, I am proud of myself for the work that I have done because before I would not take compliments, before I would not, I would undermine my strengths, I would undermine my knowledge, I would undermine my own skills, my own intuition.
mm,
But it's my own skills and intuition and my perseverance, my hyper focus, my experiences, my dedication to studying this field and to be invested in most of it all, my empathy and my love for helping human beings. I think that's essentially what fueled my desire to self-improve to the point that I can be a more effective clinician, a more effective therapist, a more effective helper. I cannot be an effective helper if I'm not a decent
hmm.
human being.
Right,
And by
right.
decent human being, I
Yeah.
mean that I'm not perfect. I am, I've been through my shit. I've done some shit that I'm not proud of,
Hmm.
but I
Me too.
condemn all of that. I condemn it, to the fullest extent of hell. Like if I ever had an opportunity to go back to it, I wouldn't change it because essentially that's what made me with the person that I am now. And if it wasn't for those experiences, I wouldn't be grateful for the person that
Hmm.
I'm becoming. But I am proud, yes, for everything that I've accomplished in my career, only because I've noticed how many lives I have changed, and
Wow.
that's not
That's
bragging. It's
awesome.
just like
Yeah. it's a
that's
fact.
literally, it is,
Yeah.
and it just
Yeah.
took balls for me to admit it. It's like, bro, you helped that changed so many children's lives, so many changes, so
Mm,
many parents, because I work with so many parents to teach them about caring for their children, even though I'm not a parent
mm,
myself, but I'm educated.
mm,
So just thinking about how much of them they have reached out to me over the years thanking me, it's something that it's a beautiful feeling because, it's just, hey, I'm placed on this earth for God knows how many years, but I can say at least
Leave
for
it
a
a
good
better
chunk of
place
those
than
years.
how you found it. Is that the quote?
Yeah,
Something like
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah, I
yeah.
do. I totally feel the same way because I don't feel that I would be able to do this podcast successfully if I didn't go through some shit myself. I have been through
Hey, say,
some of the worst things, dude. I've been at rock bottom. I've been up and been down. I've
same,
been kicked
bro.
10 times when I was down. And like, and so that's why, like, when I
Same.
have these conversations with people who have been through something, like, I can always find a way to relate it to me.
Yeah,
And I can always
yeah,
find a way to
absolutely.
relate it to, like, how is this connected to you? And how do I learn more about you as a person with these, but
Yeah,
also connecting to you through your music? Um,
yeah.
so I have two more questions and then we'll wrap this up. I know it's getting late and I appreciate how
It's
long
all
you've been
good.
doing this.
Bro,
But
I'm so locked in on this, that's why.
cool. Um, so the next question is, for me, my answer,
Hmm.
to am I proud of myself? One of the places, well, the place that I go to is I don't know if I feel that way because
Hmm.
I say job not finished because I really want these kind of conversations on a big scale. I want it massive. I
Yeah,
want I want that
yeah.
awareness at metal festivals. I want to be interviewing bands that have reach that can reach millions of people and we all understand that how heavy this is
Worldwide.
worldwide. So
Yeah.
I have an answer to my job not finished. What is your answer to job not finished? Where do you hope that you are able to take what you've learned and your empathy and take this to a place where it's not? a common thing where somebody comes to you and how do you
Mhm.
work these things out? But how do you stop people from coming to you?
Bro, that was such a damn good question. I was not prepared for it. Even my phone fell. It was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I can tell you with my answer to the job not finished, is that I hope that my little blueprint that I leave in this earth one day that I leave is that I don't necessarily expect to be remembered for what I've done. I just hope that my legacy or the work that I did to change people's lives, and that they did something with it, with
Mm,
their lives to move on or anything, I much rather take
mm,
satisfaction that did that than being remembered as a person because I, as an individual, like I don't
mm,
necessarily don't think that I matter so much about that. I think I matter more as an individual because I see myself as a collective experience that I want to contribute to
mm,
others. And it's like as long as what I did help you boost your life, help you achieve your goals, and then you're in a better place. And even if you don't remember me because you were just like 10 years old when you saw me, the fact that if you thrive, I'll go to my grave like motherfucking happy,
mm,
knowing that I did that, whether I go to heaven or hell, or if either of those are real, I just hope that wherever I go, it's a place where, it's aligns with, hopefully the work that I did. But essentially, I'm not here doing this work because I want to go to heaven or I want to go to hell or anything like that. I'm doing this work or this much of investment in humanity because I firmly believe that my purpose is to serve others. I firmly believe that my purpose is to lift other human beings up. And I firmly believe that I was meant here to inspire and make change. So
Well, it sounds
I
like you've already
also
done.
wonder.
It sounds like you've kind of already started to do that.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
Anybody who says you're not Superman, show them the cape. Show them that they're wrong. um. All right.
Appreciate it, bro.
Two more questions. Two more questions.
For sure.
Since this is a music podcast,
Hell yeah.
what what role, or if even one, does music play in your life and dealing with how you cope after you leave work or before you
Oh.
go into work or
Ooh.
while you're
Ooh.
at work? What role?
Favorite question. You're smart. You're smart. You say the one of the best questions for the end. You're sneaky,
Yeah.
bro. I,
Yeah,
I I
yeah,
see
yeah,
what you're
yeah.
doing there.
Yeah.
Um, but I love this question. I love this question.
Cool.
I can tell you that, oh, bro, if it wasn't for music, I don't think I'll be able to have a job like this because it self-regulates me. It regulates my nervous system. It regulates my mind when I have many thoughts. I don't know about you, but every morning I wake up with so many thoughts in my head, like already so many every day. It's always the same.
Yeah.
Whether it can be happy thoughts, it can be negative thoughts, it can be psychotic thoughts, they can be impulsive thoughts, like scary
Yeah.
thoughts, like
Dude,
again,
being bipolar,
ADHD.
I get that to the extremest level.
Bro, ADHD and bipolar, they're not too different, by the way.
No,
They're
I know.
not.
I know. And I thought that's what I had
So
at first. And that's what I would just I thought that's what I had and I just kind of
it's so
accepted it.
fun.
But then and then it started to get worse. And I'm just
It's
like,
so
"Wait a
funny. I
minute. I
thought I
think
had
this is."
bipolar.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, bipolar depression because I had
Yeah.
depression and I thought it was bipolar depression. And
Mm,
eventually I came to find out, nope, it is ADHD. But essentially,
mm,
music, bro,
yeah.
it's just like I like my girlfriend thinks I'm crazy, but it's like I love sad music so much. Sad
Mm,
music makes me happy. Like I love hearing because I just like hearing the passion on the pain of human pain, through like music, the instruments, the
yeah.
feeling, the power of that emotion. Like you can hear the tier. For example, I think of like Dayseeker, like Dayseeker, they're
Mm,
so emotional. They're such an
yeah.
emotional experience, like a burial plot. Oh my fucking God! Like I love to hear that song,
Oh, I
especially
love
the
that song.
reimagined, the
The one with Caleb
reimagined
Shomo
one.
on it.
Yeah. Oh my
Oh, dude,
God!
I
It's
love
it's
that so
it,
much.
it's like it's angelic, but at the same time, it's just like depressing as song, but it's so
Yeah.
beautiful. And it's like I need to hear more music like that. It's like for me, it's crazy because I listen from like sad metalcore to sad rap to sad pop punk to sad
Yeah.
everything fucking sad, man. But it's
Yeah.
like it makes me so happy. Like
You
it's
were
just the
totally one of
opposite
those emo kids in like high school, weren't you?
oh, yeah, bro,
Yeah.
100%. It was never a phase. It's
Yeah.
never a phase. It's just like
It's a
living in the moment.
lifestyle. MCR.
Yeah,
We
it's
gotta
so
play some MCR after this.
oh
I'm gonna
my
listen to
God,
some
let's
My
make a
Chemical
song on
Romance when I get
MCR.
out of
Hell yeah, dude.
there.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
man.
Well,
But
so
yeah,
you
man.
saying all that reminds me of a topic that we discussed on the first interview, and that was Chester Bennington from Lincoln Park. I have
Oh, that's
never
right.
heard so much emotion in one person's um um projection of voice.
Yep.
I've never been able to feel someone that heavy in music. Dude, whenever I listen to Crawling, I get goosebumps because I'm just like, oh shit, I know what you're talking about here. Easier to run, breaking the habits. Some of these, like somewhere I belong. It's just like,
I was obsessed with that album, Hybrid Theory. It just blew my fucking mind and inspired me to pick up a guitar,
yeah,
an
yeah. I'm gonna
electric
do this again,
guitar.
even though I did this on the other one. I'm gonna do this again for those who didn't see that. But my Hyper Theory tattoo right there.
Yeah, that dude, that's fucking sick, honestly. No, seriously, it's funny because as a kid, I wanted to have something like that.
Yeah,
As a kid, I loved that cover. That cover, I wanted either as like a banter, as like a
yeah.
tapestry, as like a. I always,
Iconic,
bro,
dude.
I always wanted a poster of that, and I never got it. I remember growing up, they were like when they came out, when it
Hmm.
was a thing. I remember telling my parents I wanted a poster, but because I live in Mexico, buying a poster in the United States was so
Uh,
expensive.
there
So I
was no
never,
Spencer's where you can go and like flip through
bro,
posters.
no, because I was like freaking 10, I think at the
Yeah.
time. So it's like I had no money. I was broke.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Man, I mean, yeah, Chester is irreplaceable,
I
irreplaceable,
agree. I agree.
and
What a wonderful soul,
and
man.
his counterpart, Chris Cornell. We lost
Oh, don't get me
two.
started with
We lost.
Audio
We
Slave.
lost
Oh,
two of the most
iconic
authentic,
rock singers.
vulnerable rock people in the world.
Yeah, I agree.
And one of the reasons why I brought this up is because
Mm,
some of these theories are talking about. I don't even know if it's fact or not, just because there's a
hmm
lot of different talk. But
Yeah,
Chester and Chris were working on a documentary together
I think I heard of something like that, but I never looked into
about
it.
human trafficking on an elite
Now,
level. Look into it, man.
now that is a conspiracy theory I heard a mention multiple times,
Yeah,
and that they're wow, no, seriously, I think you just uh, you just intrigued my mind again about something that I completely forgot about it.
yeah. Too many people are talking about that for it to be a conspiracy. Um,
Correct.
and that's where my head goes. And I don't think Chester killed himself. I don't think Chris killed himself. I think that they were murdered because what they were working on together. And right around the same time, there was other deaths happening. Avicii happened. Bourdain happened. Kate Spade happened. It was like all these people just started being taken out by themselves randomly. I don't think it was
Even
so
one of
random as we
the
thought.
e- even the same what was it like the the whitest kids you know, the comedian guy too. Like that he also took his own life, I believe.
The
I
comedian.
forgot his name. Yeah, he was from that skit comedy, the whitest kids you know. I
Hmm.
forgot his name.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
But I mean,
yeah,
but that
but
all kind of ties back into what we're talking about. Is
oh
it
I
goes
agree.
so deep. This topic goes so deep, like deeper than we
Well, like
could
I said,
ever
it's
know.
like I said earlier, it's so like deep into our systems. Like it's so deep into our systems that it can really collapse shit. Like it really can. And it's like something that I think people are underestimating that.
Yeah. And it wasn't really until Chester that I started to realize the amount and the weight of trafficking.
Yeah,
That's when it really took off for me.
I
Because I'm
get
like,
you.
wait a minute. If this is true, why did they take him out? And then I just all the rabbit holes. But yeah, that was when it really started to kick in for me. I'm like, oh, it goes this deep. Okay,
Yeah,
there's something bigger here. And I know
yeah.
that sounds bad or ignorant for me to say, but I didn't understand the
Mm.
level of it. I really, really didn't.
No,
Uh,
you know why it's not ignorant? Due to the fact that you actually got curious about it. If you got curious and you pursue new information, that absolutely removes the label of ignorant.
yeah,
Think about it.
yeah. I got one final question for you, and we'll wrap this up. You ready
For
for
sure,
this
dude.
one? You ready for this one?
Let's go.
I saved this one
Let's
intentionally for
fucking go.
last.
Let's fucking go. You were sneaky already, so I'm ready. Yeah,
um,
yeah.
if you can leave the audience with one last thing from someone like you who is helping people and care so much and have all these things that you want to help out with, what is one kind of last impression that you can leave with our audience tonight?
Just a reminder to people, look out for your neighbor. That's all. Just look out for your
Mm,
neighbor. You never know what they're going through. Me personally, I'm trying to remove labels of people in order to assume the good of people until they prove me wrong. And I hope that people can do the
mm,
same so that way it's what separates us from the division that is happening in the world, not just here.
right.
So again, be nice to your neighbor. That's all. I just because I'm a neighbor to the country because I came from Mexico and
Hmm.
I didn't have so many people who were as nice to me when I started here, but luckily I did meet some wonderful people that changed my beliefs about America. So if people like them help me change my beliefs about it, then I hope that America and Americans can do the same thing for other people from the world because at the end of the day, we're human. And like I said, seriously, bro, like let's look out for one another.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking. Like, be curious, be kind, and be most of it all, like, be patient with people.
Yeah.
I'm
I
trying.
say,
I'm
yeah,
trying.
yeah, it's not as easy as just saying it. I get that. Well, Fernando from Until the Avalanche, you have successfully had one of the toughest conversations I've ever had on the show. And I think these
Interesting.
conversations are very important. We talk about lyrics, we talk
Absolutely.
about stories, but I
Yeah.
think when you can kind of look at musicians beyond the music, it gives more insight to who they are, which gives more insight to the music. And it all relates,
Absolutely.
it all comes back together.
Damn.
I
You have
appreciate
a way with words, man.
thank you. um
Yeah.
thank you for coming on this and being vulnerable and hearing my sides about certain things even if we didn't agree on something. I think that's an awesome thing for us to do is just talk and be humans again. Let's be humans, not
Hell yeah.
reptiles. Oh, actually,
The
I got a
reptile
question for you.
people.
I got a
What's up?
question for you. Do you think the world is flat or do you think it's round?
No, I'm kidding. It's definitely round. Like flat earthers, like I will. Oh, I will. Like I will on spot. I'm sorry, but on spot. Like oh, I'm
Well, then
kidding. I'm kidding.
good thing we're not in the same room because my brain has gone so far. It's like, wait a minute,
Oh, bro.
wait a minute. Could the world be flat?
Bro, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I would never do such thing, but that is such a funny question. You know what? I'll leave you one last one before you
Yeah,
go, since you brought up that topic.
yeah,
Well, not that
yes.
topic, but that think about it. And with this, I'll say thank you for having me and honestly having the time to, talk to me about things that they're not always easy to talk about. Granted, for me, this shit is easy to talk about because I think
Yeah.
like I do research on it. I do a living, with some of the topics that we talk about it, and clearly we are two peas in a pod about how passionate we are about merely having human connections. And I think for that, I'm very grateful, bro, for having me. But the question that I'll leave you with
Uh-oh.
is a hot dog a taco or a sandwich?
A hot dog? Hmm.
Hmm.
If I had to
Think,
guess
huh?
something right now, I would probably say taco because it has the opening in I don't know, in the bun. It's open. It's not laying flat. It's open. I don't know.
You
Where are you
have to
going
think
with
about
this?
it. I just wanted. You said, see, I just as much as you're paying attention to what you say, to what I say, I pay attention to what you say, and you talk about rabbit holes. So I wanted to leave you with
Yeah.
the rabbit hole there.
Okay.
A
Okay.
funny one.
I'm gonna, you know what, just to be I was, I was gonna say I'm gonna go ask Chat GPT, but that was gonna be a joke. That was gonna be a joke because I'm just like I need help. I'm going to Chat GPT to kind of sum all this up. Chat GPT. I'm just kidding. Oh my goodness, this world. Chat GPT is the government. It's the
ChatGPT.
CIA watching us.
Clearly, yeah.
The technology is there. How quick that fucking thing is.
If
The
they can't
technology is
hear what
there.
we're saying, honestly, if they can hear what they're saying or we talk in this interview, if they can hear what I think, que chinguen a su madre. Simple as that.
And
Yes,
we'll leave it at that. Fernando, again, thank you, dude, so much. Not only thank you for
thank
coming
you,
on here,
dude.
but thank you for the work that you're doing. It
I appreciate it,
really
dude.
it's not an easy thing to do that. And early on in my career, I thought about going that route. But the thing that kept me from doing it was I don't know if I can separate myself from work. Like I would see myself like going to work, but that stuff being so heavy with me still, and then going back
Yeah,
home, coming back home to my wife and having dinner. And like, how can I do
yeah.
that? Like how can I have this conversation with someone who went through this and just go home and act like just another day at work? So
It is
I think
tough,
it
bro.
takes a very strong person to do this stuff. So thank you
I'd
for
say
doing what
so.
you do
Thank you, man.
and
Appreciate
doing
it. Thank you
music
for reaching out.
and doing
That's right.
music. Music is such a great outlet, for
I agree.
the days that, these things are weighing heavy on you. Let me take it out on my guitar today.
Hell yeah, bro.
Let me go
You
put
practice
Hyper
the hell
Theory
out of it.
on.
The
Hell
way to
yeah.
go.
Um,
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much again, honestly.